Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My wife is mad at me because these suck. So why do they suck? They suck because, well, they're old, they're cheap. I bought them, I don't know, at Ace or something years and years ago. And they work, they're fine. They don't have nice handles or anything, but they're old. They've been sitting around for probably more than a decade now, and they've gotten wet several times. They're super rusty, and I don't know that they could cut much of anything. So today, I figured it's fairly basic, simple stuff, but maybe you don't know, or maybe you've never tried. I'm going to show you how to bring some life back into these by stripping the rust, cleaning it, and putting a sharp edge on this blade. So let's do it. All right. First thing, let's get some light on the situation. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to throw this in our vise just to kind of hold it in place a little bit. These are just thin aluminum handles, so I wouldn't put too much pressure on. But what we want to do is get this nut off here. And that looks like probably, assuming metric, probably around 13 mil. Look at that. So just going to loosen this nut. So you probably have a nut on the back, depending on your set. You could have a screw or a bolt or something on the other side that you might want to hold in place as you unscrew that. In my case, it's a locking nut, and it has one of these carriage bolts on it that kind of have the square ends in it, and that kind of locks in everything into place. So we're going to take that apart, and it leaves us with our two halves. So set this stuff aside for now so you don't lose it. And let's start with cleaning off some of the rust on here. We're just going to get a little bit of God's juice and spray it on here. Ooh, there we go. And then just take a wire brush, anything you got laying around. We're just going to give this a good scrubbing to get a lot of that surface rust off. All right, take a rag or paper towel or whatever, wipe that off, check your progress. Clean as you go. And that's not terrible. That is looking much better. It's not perfect. I don't want, perfectly shiny metal, but that starts to bring back some of the original color in it and protects it as we sand that oil in there, right? I think the next step, we got to do it to the other one, and then we'll start putting an edge on this. Sweet. We're going to want to put a bevel on this, right? The problem is if you're like this, if yours are like mine and they're anything new, they're not an older pair, this is hardened steel. You're going to have a hard time sharpening that. You're going to need diamond plates or something like that. A file isn't really going to do much on it, so you need something that can cut through hardened steel, which would be a diamond plates. If you don't have diamond plates, check out my video on these. I'll try to link it up here somewhere in a card, but you can buy this set of 4 plates on Amazon super cheap. So I'm just going to lap the back a few times on 400 grit, clean everything up. You see all that kind of rust, additional rust is coming off the scale. See if we can get this back a little flatter. Check our progress as we go. So you can tell on here where the shears got most of their use, right in here, right? So you can see this is definitely a low spot. Our plate's taking metal off the top there and off the bottom here, but we've still got a lot of dark in there. Ideally, I don't want this all flat. It doesn't have to be, but I would want it at least flat on both sides, edges all the way across. So we have to keep lapping this until this at least gets clean metal. If there's a little gray in the middle, that's okay. As long as it's clean on there and there, we have a flat surface that we can ride across. So let's keep honing this until we get that shiny. Almost getting there. All right, there we go. Pretty much little bits of black still left, but not that bad for shears that we're just chopping stuff outside with. That's pretty good. So we at least know we have a flat back now. Now we can flip it over and start the bevel. I only use 400 grit on this back. You don't have to go all the way through all 4 grits, and I'm not going to. If you're sharpening a knife or something like that, chisels, obviously you want to go up. But for outdoor utility shears like this, 400 grit is just fine. So I wouldn't go through all that unless you really want to. That's up to you. So we're going to throw some more lapping fluid on, which is, I just use Windex, and we're going to start putting a bevel on this. A little more fluid on there. I use Windex because it's alcohol based, and these plates are, these diamonds are just kind of glued onto these plates, right? Through some kind of process. And if you use water a lot, the steel on the bottom will tend to rust, or especially off the metal that you're sharpening will sit on there and rust, and that can pop those diamonds off at times in spots. So I tend to use something like alcohol, like in glass cleaner, because A, it evaporates quickly, and B, you can just wipe it off easy and it'll dry up and you don't have to worry about the rust issues. So find your bevel. So these have a large bevel on it. When you put it down, you put it down flat and you can twist it until you find your bevel. So this is gonna take a little bit of hand-eye coordination. So A, you wanna keep flat on the bevel, but also the blade's curved. So you gotta kinda like round it in as you can go. And I wouldn't worry about getting all the way down, but you want mainly in the main areas that you're cutting, which is in the middle, obviously. So we kind of got to do a little bit of rocking, trying to keep pressure down on your bevel as you go. And pretty much same concept as before, where you're trying to get rid of all that dark spots and get a nice, shiny, even, level bevel all the way across. Stopping occasionally, checking your work. So you can tell here, we're getting there. Let's see, how can you see it? So if you can tell here, we're getting there in the middle, getting down to nice shiny metal. We've got some dark spots up on the end, and then down here, not too worried about getting all the way down here. I can't get there with my plates, but our main cutting edge is right here, so that's where you want to be. It's time to work. So I got everything flat as far up as I could with the way my system's set up here. It's kind of set up for chisels and hand planes, but I got up as far as I could, which is definitely in the cutting area. Went down to 400, went through 600, went through 1,000. Now I'm up to 1,200. Again, you don't have to do this. You could probably stop at 400 if you're just chopping down vegetation and stuff. Not that big of a deal. But I've got the 4 plates, so I might as well go through it. It only takes about a minute a plate once you get through the 400. So may as well. Nice. Yeah, not looking for perfection here. This isn't a chisel blade or anything, but that will do. So you can see down here a little bit of the dark still. That's okay. Not really cutting down here a lot. Most of the cutting is going to be up in this area. So we're now nice and sharp, up to 1200 grit. Our back is flat. So now we just got to do this one and we'll be ready to put it back together. We've got both of our blades sharpened now. The next step is to kind of lay it back together the way it would go and close the blades. And if you can, try to eyeball down where the blades touch each other and make sure you don't have a big gap. A lot of times when people are chopping with these things, they'll chop like big sticks and wind up bending the blade a little bit. And if that's the case, if yours has a curve in it, throw it down your vise a little bit and you can close this up if you want to or whatever and just very gently kind of pull on that blade and then try it again. Very micro adjustments. Just move up and down to where you think the main curve is and just keep bending it back and forth until you get a nice tight fit all the way across. Little tiny gap is okay, but you're mainly looking for as you're closing this, the blades come in contact the whole way. So that is that. Now, if you don't have really good diamond plates like this and you're trying to sharpen these, like I said, a lot of these modern ones are hardened steel. So taking like a regular file like this to it isn't really going to do much. You're going to sit there all day and barely make any scratches. So if you don't want to use those, you can go on Amazon and buy a little set like this. These are diamond files. They do sell them bigger as well, but these are the ones that I have on hand. These are diamond coated files. So you can take these now and come in here and touch up these areas like down here where I couldn't get to with the sharpening stones. If you don't have the sharpening stones, you could use something like this. It's going to take a little longer, especially with these little ones, but you can see right there, it's taking the metal off and it's starting to bring that down and make a nice flat bevel. This is a little tougher to do. You're going to want to kind of put it in a vise and watch your fingers when you're doing this and try to keep a nice flat even bevel. So you can see here that diamond file will actually sharpen this really well, and it actually puts a nice edge on it as well. It's not as polished as up here, right? But it'll definitely sharpen it and get you where you need to be. And then you can come back and get maybe some polishing compound or something on just a piece of leather, and you can strop that and make it a little shinier if you want to. So that's just another option. Another option is you can use a bench grinder, but unless you're really good at using a bench grinder or you have very nice smooth hands, it's really hard to get that nice, clean, smooth bevel. You're going to end up putting big gouges in your blade. It's not going to go well. So, like I said, you can use it if that's all you have, but I would caution against it because you're going to end up ruining your blade if you really don't know what you're doing. So maybe avoid that. That's basically it. Let's put this thing back together. What I'm going to do is take, if I can find it, because everything's a mess here. There she is. So I've got a little, you can use WD-40 or grease or whatever. I've got a little bit of, this is like knife blade lube. It's made to put on your pivots and things like that. It's kind of a thicker weight oil. So you can use any kind of oil you want in here, but like I said, even WD-40 would be fine. And just put it on where that pivot's going to go. There we go. Had the bolt in backwards. So lock washer, then your lock nut, and then tighten this nut down to your likeness, right? So open it up, close it like that. Feels a little too snug to me, so I'm just going to back that off just a quarter turn. That is feeling perfect. There's no wobble, and we've got a good, nice, smooth connection with the blade now. So our shears are put back together. Well put together. So our shears are back together. We are nice and sharp. I'm just going to throw another coat of WD-40 on, kind of rub it through a little bit, and these will be ready to go back into service. So that is it for today. That is how you sharpen a pair of hardened steel outdoor shears, pruning shears. Pretty cool. Maybe basic stuff, but there might be somebody out there that doesn't know how to do this, and that's what this video is intended for, is to kind of teach you guys how to do that stuff. So if you do like this type of content, subscribe down below, give me a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. Do you have some old shears? Older ones, you be careful of. So older shears are not made with these super hardened steel. A lot of the older ones were made to be resharpened. These weren't really made to be resharpened, which is why we have to use the diamond stones. You can resharpen them, but it takes a little bit more effort. The older ones have softer steel. You could still use the same process we did, but you can also get away on the old ones with just using a file, you know, and sharpening it that way. So use that kind of caution when you go looking for a pair of shears. But anyway, all that being said, I'll see you on the next one.